Let's dive into the story where Ultraman makes a comeback in a brand new adventure. This time, he encounters a baby kaiju who possesses incredible powers. Ultraman finds himself responsible for taking care of this powerful little one. However, things take a turn for the worse when the evil Kaiju Defense Agency sets their sights on capturing the baby at any cost. Will Ultraman be able to protect her? Let's uncover the answer. The story kicks off with the narrator's voice, explaining how monsters from different planets arrived on Earth, causing chaos. Interestingly, not all of these monsters are truly evil. Some are simply misunderstood by humans. That's when a hero named Ultraman emerges out of nowhere to defend the people from these creatures. For the past 30 years, he has been utilizing his incredible powers to battle these monsters and maintain balance in the world. The scene then shifts to Japan, where we meet a young boy named Kenji, playing with his parents, Professor Sato and Amo. We learn that Kenji's father is the real superhero, as he is often entrusted with protecting Japan and the world from dangerous kaiju creatures. He is the current Ultraman. During their playtime, Kenji's mother, Amo, takes on the role of the villain, while Kenji portrays Ultraman. They even have a robot named Mina, who assists them with cooking and other household chores. Baseball is a big part of their family, with Amo being a dedicated fan of the Hansen Tigers baseball team in the Japanese league. She watches a tense match between the Tigers and their biggest rival, the Yori. Kenji's parents have different expectations for him, despite his young age. His father wants him to be prepared to become the next Ultraman, following in his footsteps. On the other hand, Amo is determined to make him a baseball player. Their excitement is abruptly interrupted by an earthquake. Their robot, Mina, receives a call from Dr. Onda, who warns Professor Sato to protect his family and the world, as one of the most dangerous kaiju, Gantran, has arrived on Earth. It becomes Sato's duty to defend the world. Sato makes the brave decision to confront the monster and asks his wife to protect Kenji. Kenji pleads with his father not to go, but Sato assures him that he will return. In an instant, Sato transforms into Ultraman and heads off to battle Gigan. The scene then jumps ahead 20 years, where Kenji is now a grown man. Sadly, his mother has passed away. Kenji had traveled to America with her, where he joined a baseball team called the Tigers and became their star player, gaining immense popularity. After achieving success in American baseball, Kenji decides to return to Japan to join a Japanese team called the Yoneer Giants. However, his return also has another purpose, to take on the role of the next Ultraman, as his father has grown old. Kenji's fans in Japan have many questions for him, so he attends a press conference to answer them. However, he becomes angry when a reporter named Amy asks about his mother's death. Frustrated, Kenji storms out of the conference. Just then, his watch alerts him to a kaiju attack. He fights against the powerful kaiju named Nanga, who overwhelms him. Kenji tries to hold back in order to minimize damage, but he realizes he doesn't know how to do so. Unable to restrain himself any longer, he unleashes his powers and lands a devastating punch on the creature. During the battle, the Kaiju Defense Force Agency captures Nanga and warns Ultraman not to fight kaiju without authorization, threatening to place him in custody if he disobeys. Kenji notices that his suit's battery is running low, which means he will temporarily lose his powers. To protect his identity, he quickly flies to an isolated area in the city and changes back into his normal self. He sees that the defense agency is struggling to capture Nanga, but he has grown tired of helping people who don't appreciate him. Kenji makes the decision to return to his normal life, but his dad interrupts with a plea for him to come back as Ultraman. However, Kenji ignores his dad's call and chooses to focus on his true passion, baseball. Suddenly, the scene shifts to the Kaiju Defense Headquarters, where Chief Dr. Onda calls for a meeting. He acknowledges the loss of loved ones due to the devastating kaiju attacks, but assures everyone that it will soon come to an end. They are developing a powerful weapon that will eliminate all kaijus from their planet. The scene changes again to show Dr. Onda and his team, who possess a case crucial for completing the weapon. Unexpectedly, a kaiju named Giganton appears and attacks the team members holding the case. Meanwhile, Kenji is training for his upcoming baseball game when he feels pain in his right arm. His robot companion, Mina, informs him that his arm has been dislocated during a battle. Kenji questions whether sacrificing his arm for ungrateful people is worth it, leading him to quit being Ultraman and pass the duty to the Kaijo Force Agency. Despite his injury, Kenji participates in his first Japanese game but struggles to hit the ball with his right hand. In a bold move, he decides to use his left hand and successfully hits the ball, earning cheers from the stadium crowd. While Kenji's father watches the game happily, his mood changes when he receives an alert about a kaiju attack. The attack reaches the stadium, causing panic and chaos. However, it becomes clear that Giganton is not attacking anyone but is seeking to retrieve the stolen case from the Kaiju Defense Agency. Confused by the situation, Kenji transforms into Ultraman and confronts the threatening kaiju. In Retalia's orders, the agency men fires hundreds of missiles at Giganton, but Ultraman uses his shield to protect it. Unfortunately, the damage has already been done. The missile brutally injures Giganton, and it dies within minutes. Miraculously, Ultraman survives. Now, Ultraman takes the case to find out why the creature was trying to protect it from the agency. He opens the case only to realize it's an egg of the Giganton. The egg hatches the moment he touches it, revealing a cute pink baby Giganton. Knowing that the agency is searching for the baby, Ultraman travels back to his underwater basement to keep it safe. However, something strange starts to happen as the baby Giganton continuously licks Kenji's chest. His robot Mina tells him that it means the baby Giganton thinks Kenji is her mother. Kenji panics, as he is not ready for this kind of responsibility. He has a life and a title to win, but now he is babysitting a giant pink lizard thing. In an attempt to avoid this responsibility, Kenji wants to take the creature to Kaijo Island. But Mina informs him that the island cannot be found. As Kenji's Ultraman suit battery runs low, he reverts back to his human form. Unfortunately, the baby kaiju no longer recognizes him and starts crying. Mina explains that the baby is scared of Kenji's true form, as it only knows him as Ultraman. Following Kenji's request, Mina uses their largest containment pod to hold the creature. Dr. Onda and his team arrive at the Giganton's corpse and discover that its egg has already hatched. He instructs his team to find the baby and bring it back alive. In another scene, Kenji's father pays him a visit, but Kenji is unhappy to see him. It is revealed that Kenji's parents divorced when he was young because his mother couldn't handle the pressures of being married to a superhero. The decision to separate was made for the sake of their son, who never fully understood the reason behind their separation. Kenji resents his father, believing that he was abandoned for the sake of being a superhero. The baby Kaijo remains scared of Kenji, so he comes up with an idea. He transforms into Ultraman and back into his human form multiple times to prove to the creature that he is the same person. This strategy works, and the baby stops crying. However, Kenji realizes that the kaiju is hungry when he hears its stomach growling. Mina explains that the creature must be really hungry. Following Kenji's wishes, Mina brings a delicious human meal for the creature to eat. However, the food irritates the baby kaiju, and it starts echoing towards the fishes in the ocean. Kenji realizes that the baby kaiju loves fish and catches hundreds of them to feed the creature. Taking care of the baby kaiju starts affecting Kenji's routine, especially his baseball career. He struggles to get enough sleep because he constantly needs to feed the hungry baby kaiju. As a result, he attends baseball games feeling exhausted, which negatively impacts his performance. Not only does he lose many fans, but his coach also considers transferring him to another team. Frustrated and angry, Kenji reaches out to a reporter he knows well, who often asks him tough questions during press conferences. Knowing that the reporter has 2 kids of her own, Kenji seeks advice on how she manages to balance her responsibilities as a parent and her job. In return for her guidance, he agrees to participate in an interview where he will answer all of her questions. Following the reporter's advice, Kenji starts to bond more with the baby kaiju and even teaches her how to play baseball. To fulfill his end of the deal, he attends the interview with the reporter, leaving Mina in charge of taking care of the baby. Meanwhile, when the baby wakes up and realizes Kenji is not around, she becomes upset and releases a strange power from her mouth. Mina tries to calm the baby by showing her pictures of Kenji, but it doesn't work. The baby kaiju escapes from Kenji's basement and ventures into the city in search of her father. Meanwhile, during the interview, Kenji receives an alert that the baby kaiju is causing chaos in the city. Without wasting any time, he cancels the interview and rushes to find the baby kaiju. Unbeknownst to her, the baby kaiju unintentionally unleashes her powers on Kenji. Then the chief of the Kaiju Defense Agency finally locates the baby kaiju he has been searching for. He quickly sends his men to the creature's location. When they arrive, they shoot tranquilizers at the kaiju to make it unconscious. The chief instructs Ultraman to hand over the creature, promising no action will be taken against him. But Ultraman doesn't listen to him and manages to escape with the baby kaiju at full speed. Then the baby kaiju is in great pain, so Kenji has no choice but to call his dad, Professor Sato, who is knowledgeable about these creatures. Professor Sato arrives and discovers that the kaiju only has a broken arm. Using his walking stick, he fixes the creature's dislocated arm. Kenji not only learns from his father about the importance of protecting kaiju species and their ecological benefits, but also realizes the delicate balance required to be a superhero and a parent simultaneously. Sato explains to his son, who still harbored resentment towards him, that he never wanted to become Ultraman and fight monsters. He was driven by the personal urge to protect his wife and son at any cost. Meanwhile, Dr. Onda is determined to find the kaiju baby at all costs. We later discover his sinister plans of using the baby kaiju to create a super weapon and wipe out their kind, seeking revenge for the kaiju's attack that took the lives of his wife and children, his only source of happiness. According to him, these creatures deserve no mercy. As Professor Sato trains the baby kaiju to defend itself, use its powers, and hunt for its own meals, Kenji begins to find balance in his life. He no longer loses games and leads his team from last to second position. During their conversation, Kenji and his father decide to name the baby kaiju Amy. However, their bonding moment is interrupted by the arrival of hundreds of drones sent by Dr. Onda to capture the baby kaiju at the worst possible time. To make matters worse, the baby kaiju begins to enter its pupal stage, indicating that it is growing but also at its most vulnerable moment. When the drones release missiles on them, leading to Kenji's father obtaining a life-threatening injury. Out of anger, Kenji changes to Ultraman and destroys all the drones. However, what he doesn't know is that this is the least of Dr. Onda's plans. The baby pupal stage is finished, and it turns out she has now developed wings. After Dr. Onda sends a robotic Gigantian mother that had been created in their lab in an attempt to reach out to the baby and convince it to switch sides, the baby kaiju leaves Kenji and runs to the robotic Giganton, thinking it's her mother. Kenji's house is destroyed by Dr. Onda's men, and it seems like his father, Professor Sato, had been killed by this incident. Kenji goes to protect the baby Amy from Dr. Onda and his robot Kantra. As Ultraman, he goes into a final battle with the gigantic robot. After a huge battle, Ultraman gets defeated and gets drowned inside the ocean. Fortunately, Kenji's dad turns out to be alive as he comes to his son's rescue in the form of Ultra Dad. The theme of parenthood triumphing over evil is complete when the Gigantian mother also manages to get rid of Dr. Onda's control over it. With this happening, Dr. Onda made a bold decision and chose his final option, to a massive robot, and took control of it. The purpose was to engage in an epic battle with the heroes. The cage joined forces with the heroes, but unfortunately, they were no match for the enemy. However, when Kenji and his dad combined their powers and unleashed a powerful atomic breath, they managed to bring down the robot with a tremendous blast. In the end, Dr. Onda realized that victory was not within his grasp. Nevertheless, driven by his desire to avenge his family and defeat as many kaiju as possible, he self-detonated his robotic aircraft. In a selfless act, Kenji decided to sacrifice himself to save everyone else. He used his Ultra Shield to stop the blast from reaching the city. Thankfully, he survived, but he lost one of his arms in the process. And that's how the movie concluded. Thank you for watching, guys. If you enjoy animated movies, please subscribe to this channel and keep watching.